Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jonathan Rodriguez. I am the Health Programs Coordinator for the Hispanic Federation. Today, we have a special guest, Andria Reyes from Columbia University, who will be talking to us about the risk of tobacco and vaping. Andrea manages the health education and outreach program at the Columbia University Cancer Center and creates and delivers cancer risk reduction health education workshops in the New York City community. Andrea is also part of the Cancer Center's tobacco cessation program and is a tobacco treatment specialist. She has an undergraduate degree in psychology and master's degree in health and behavior studies from the Teachers College at Columbia University. Welcome, Andrea, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for having me here today, and thank you to Hispanic Federation also for having me here today. So Jonathan will be loading our slides so we can start our chat about tobacco and vaping. So hi, everyone. As Jonathan said, my name is Andria Reyes, and I am from the Columbia University Cancer Center from the Office of Community Outreach and Engagement. I have a presentation for you all today called Tobacco, Risks of Use and Cancer, and we will also be talking about vaping and the risks of vaping. Okay, next slide. Okay, so first off, what is tobacco? Tobacco comes from a plant. The leaves are dried and they are chopped. These chopped leaves go into things like cigarettes, but what you get is not only the chopped leaf, there are additives, nicotine and other substances and enhancers and flavorings are added to these chopped leaves when they go into products that you smoke. Next slide. These are some examples. So there are different types of tobacco products, ones that you smoke and ones that you don't, and ones that you vape. So these are the types of tobacco products that are smoked. Most common, what people see are cigarettes, but there are cigars, cigarillos. You can put tobacco into a pipe. There are BDs, Kratex, and Hookah. Next. The most common form of smoking and tobacco is cigarettes. So, what is in a cigarette? There are thousands of chemicals in cigarettes. We know 69 of them to be cancer-causing chemicals. Those are called carcinogens, right? So in this image, you can see that there are poisons. There's lighter fluid, there's ammonia, which is found in toilet cleaner. There are substances found in paint. There are substances that are found in rocket fuel that are in cigarettes. Carbon monoxide, there's candle wax, who knew, in cigarettes. There's methane and there's acetic acid. So these are just some of the many, many chemicals that are found in a cigarette. Next. What does smoking do to your body? Along with chronic diseases, it can cause 16 different types of cancers. You can see the image here. I won't go through all of them, but the most common cancer that we know that is caused by smoking is lung cancer. But you can also get it in your trachea, in your stomach, in your liver, pancreas, bladder. You can get colorectal cancer. You can get it in your mouth, in your throat, in your esophagus. There are also chronic diseases that are either caused or exacerbated by smoking, like stroke. You can get blindness from cataracts. You can develop pneumonia from smoking, heart disease, diabetes. You can get an ectopic pregnancy if you're a female. Rheumatoid arthritis, it can affect your immune system. So there are both chronic diseases and cancers that can be caused by smoking. Next. These are lungs. The lungs on the left are lungs that are lighter colored. They don't have the residue from smoking on them. These are the lungs, the lungs on the left. The lungs on the right are lungs that belong to a smoker. You can see a very big difference between lungs that belong to a non-smoker and a smoker. Next. Okay. There are also dangers in secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke, what is that? It's smoke that you inhale, not wanting to, right, involuntarily, from tobacco being smoked by others around you. It can affect both children and adults in different ways. In infants and children, the biggest problems are wheezing and coughing, asthma attacks, and ear infections. And in adults, some of the health conditions caused by smoke coming from other people or secondhand smoke are heart disease, stroke, and lung cancer. Next. Smoking during pregnancy puts your baby at risk for certain birth defects. It can cause complications in the pregnancy. The babies born to smokers can be born too early and too small. They can have birth defects, and they can be born with damage in your brain, and it can affect the development of their lungs. So their lungs won't develop as well as they would in someone who doesn't smoke. Next. Okay. Hookah, very common in New York City. It's common in the Uptown and Bronx communities, common downtown as well. What is it? It's a water pipe. Some people may think that bringing smoke through water might be healthier, but it is absolutely not a healthier practice. Hookah has different names. You can see shisha goes and nargile. It has the same chemicals as cigarettes. It's just as unsafe. The additives and the flavorings added to what you smoke in a hookah bowl are also unsafe for people. And the water in the hookah does not filter out the chemicals and the toxic ingredients. Next. Okay. This is really important, and I hope that all of you can share this with anyone that you may know that smokes hookah. Smoking hookah is equal to smoking about 100 cigarettes. And why is that? Usually when someone smokes a cigarette, 2 to 3 minutes, they're done. Smoking hookah can last a long time. It can last up to about 45 minutes, maybe even more. And within that time, continuous smoking of the hookah can end up equaling up to about 100 cigarettes. And you're getting the same amount of smoke as you would as if you were smoking cigarettes actually in your lungs. Next. Okay. Why is hookah use dangerous? It increases the risk of several different diseases in both women and men. So one of them is decreased fertility. You won't be able to have a baby so easily. Men and women can pass herpes back and forth to each other, hepatitis and tuberculosis, and it's from sharing the same mouthpiece. Babies born to women who smoke hookah are more likely to have low birth weight. If you look at the image, there are more. You can develop lung cancer, heart disease, throat and mouth cancer. It affects your skin by making it more wrinkled. You can have a stroke in your brain, which is a blood clot in your brain, and a bleed in your brain that can then damage your brain. You can get different cancers in places that you wouldn't think that are affected by hookah, like in your cervix or ovary or in your uterus. You can get blocked arteries, weak bones, and even complications from diabetes if you have it. Next slide. Okay, e-cigarettes are another thing that you smoke. So we talked about tobacco and cigarettes. We talked about hookah, now e-cigarettes. So what are they? They are electronic devices that heat a liquid and produce a vapor. And this vapor is small particles in the air that can come into that you breathe into your lungs. E-cigarettes come in many shapes and sizes. Most have a battery and a heating element and a place to hold liquid. The photo on the right shows the liquid. These are really important for, especially I think for parents and parents of teenagers to see, because some of these devices can look like a flash drive that you put into a computer or a pen and can easily be overlooked in a child's backpack. So it's really good to get, really important to know what these devices look like as well. Smoking an e-cigarette is also called vaping. Next. What is an e-cigarette vapor? Actually, 7,000 chemicals. These are just some that are listed here. Important to note for anyone involved or anyone who knows someone who smokes or vapes, right? That the e-cigarette vapor, the smoke from vaping, is not just harmless water vapor. There are a lot of chemicals in there. There are cancer-causing chemicals in that fine mist. There are metals, heavy metals, which can also be very harmful, like nickel and tin and lead. And there's a flavoring that its chemical name called diacetyl, but it's a chemical linked to serious lung disease. You see here, there's a little image of popcorn on the slide. It can lead to a disease called popcorn lung, which means that your lungs are becoming inflamed and scarred and damaged from the smoking. And it's something that someone often lives with for a very long time. You can't just treat it and it goes away. So it does damage your lung tissue. It damages your cells. It puts chemicals and oils into your lungs. And, can't really wash out your lungs. You can blow your nose, you can cough. That cleans out your nose a little bit, but there's no real way to get all of these particles out of your lungs once they're in there and causing damage and inflammation. Okay, next. Okay, there are risks to vaping listed here, and many more that are not listed, but vaping products have nicotine often, and nicotine can lead to putting nicotine in your body can lead to nicotine addiction. It can cause irritation of your mouth and throat, coughing and wheezing. It can make your asthma worse if you have asthma. It can cause chest pain. It can raise your blood pressure and heart rate. It can even give you an upset stomach and nausea if you use it too much. Next. Okay. E-cigarettes can harm children. Why is that? Nicotine can harm the developing brain of a teenager. The brain of an adolescent, brains keep developing till about age 25. And we know that there are a lot of children younger than that, people younger than that, that do e-cigarettes and that vape. Using nicotine in adolescence can harm parts of the brain that control attention and learning and mood and impulse control. It can also increase risk for addiction to other drugs, and it's definitely unsafe for kids, teens, and young adults. Next slide. Okay. There are other products that contain nicotine. These are the smokeless products. There's products called chew, which you put in your mouth and you chew, or you chew on a pouch, or you chew on the loose tobacco. There's dry snuff that you inhale, and moist snuff called also snus. These all come in these tins, and they are smokeless tobacco products. They're not any less dangerous. You're still getting these chemicals into your body, but with these, they're coming up in your nose, or they're being absorbed by the lining of your mouth and throat and stomach. Next slide. Okay, these are also products that deliver nicotine into the body. These orbs or pellets can pass for any type of gum. There are these little coated sticks that you can suck on, and strips that you can also put on your tongue. These products dissolve in your mouth. Next. And so what's in these tobacco products? These are, as you can see listed on this slide, there are names that most people can't pronounce. They are chemicals. You've got formaldehyde and cadmium. Formaldehyde is a preservative. Cadmium is found in batteries. You've got nicotine, which make it addictive, and a whole host of other chemicals that are put onto these tobacco leaves to make them either taste better or deliver nicotine easier into your body. Next. Okay. There are health risks associated with smokeless tobacco, and these include oral cancers, so cancer of your mouth, throat, cheek, gums, or lips. That's because you're putting this tobacco into your mouth and sucking on it and spitting out the saliva afterwards, but it can cause damage in your mouth. It can cause damage to your teeth, cavities. It can stain your teeth yellow. It can cause lung disease. You can get cancer in your pancreas from using these products, and cancer in your esophagus. And it's primarily because you're not only holding it in your mouth, at some points you are still swallowing your saliva that has the chemicals from the nicotine as well. Next slide. Okay. Important to note that holding smokeless tobacco in your mouth for 30 minutes gives you just as much nicotine as smoking 3 cigarettes. Next slide. Okay. There are benefits to quitting, and they're listed here. So quitting improves your health and increases your life expectancy. That means that it'll improve your health and you can live a longer life. It lowers your risk of 12 different types of cancers, lowers your risk of heart disease, and of a disease called COPD, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's a disease where you have a lot of trouble bringing oxygen into your lungs and breathing. It lowers your risk of some reproductive health outcomes, which basically lowers your risk of poor fertility. It benefits people who have already been diagnosed with coronary heart disease or COPD, so it makes you a little bit better if you've stopped smoking and you have these diseases. And it benefits any people at any age, both people who have smoked for years or people who just started recently and ended up quitting. So there are definite benefits to quitting. Next slide. Okay, there are tobacco treatment programs out there. They will work with you. They're not scary at all. If you smoke and you want to quit, they will help you use the best treatments. They'll give you ongoing counseling and support and motivation that you need to quit. They will answer all of your questions and they'll help you to avoid starting again. Next slide. Okay, so I happen to be a tobacco program specialist. I am a tobacco cessation counselor. This is my direct telephone number. If you're interested in quitting, if you want to take a snapshot of this slide and give this to someone that you know that might want counseling to help quit tobacco smoking or to reduce so that they're able to quit smoking. And we have a website. It's quittobacco@nyp.org. I'm from Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, specifically from the Cancer Center. We are happy to work with you if you are interested. This is my last slide. I would like to say thank you so much to Hispanic Federation for having me on this chat today. And I can take questions.
Thank you, Andria, for having this presentation for us today. I just have a couple of questions that came in. Do I need health insurance if I want to start quitting?
You do not need health insurance.
Another question do I have? How do I know if my child is vaping? Is there any tips that you could recommend for parents?
Right. If you ask and they say no, but you still suspect, it's hard to say. You can look for the products. I showed them in the slideshow. They would be then showing if they are addicted to the vaping already, they may want to try to escape or hide so that they can get their smoking done. You might smell it. It's hard to catch, but these cartridges for the vaping are flavored. So if you've got scents that you didn't have before in your house, if your child after not smoking for a while is jumpy or nervous, you could always look up the symptoms, right, that someone might feel when they're in nicotine withdrawal. So they'd be nervous and jittery and kind of jumpy and just waiting for their next ability to smoke. So those are just some signs that you might want to look for. If you go out with your child all day and then all of a sudden it all turns and you see them irritable and, just something to watch out for.
Great, thank you, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
Lastly, I have another question. Are there any advantages of vaping compared to smoking traditional cigarettes?
They're both harmful to your body. I cannot say that one is better than the other. They're both bad for you. They both, smoking and vaping both mean that you are bringing particles into your lungs that don't belong there, and particles into your lungs. In terms of vaping, you're bringing oils and different chemicals, and some of the chemicals overlap. Some of the chemicals that you will inhale when you vape are also in cigarettes. So they're both not good for you.
Great, thank you. That's all the questions I have for today. Just want to thank you so much for joining us today, and everybody on Facebook. Please contact Andrea if you have any more questions, or us at Hispanic Federation. Our number is 1-866-HF-AYUDA. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you very much.